Welcome, BFTV family, to the show. We just wanted to get on here just to let you guys know that today's topic is definitely going to be a little more controversial than what you're used to. This is typically a Christian-based show. However, the whole point of Back and Forth TV is to display stories of redemption that are not just from Christian walks of life, but all walks of life. And I'm here to share everyone's story. As it pertains to the LGBTQ community and things like that, I believe in treating all people with kindness. I believe in sharing love to all. I believe that we don't have a heaven or hell to put people in, and that they have free will to be what they want to be. And that's what I believe here. I do want to make clear any negative commentary in regards to this topic today will not be tolerated. So if you go on a rant or say something inappropriate, you will be blocked. Okay, you will be blocked. But I'm excited to share this story, and I hope that you all are supportive of it, and tune in. What does the phrase "it's never too late" really mean? My name is TK, and in this series, I'm hoping to shed light on how individuals rise above, own their realities, and overcome obstacles. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that people are not able to look past mistakes despite witnessing one's emotional pain? This season, I'll be interviewing individuals in different areas and industries to explore their sometimes controversial views and why they feel it's never too late to change, follow their dreams, and walk in purpose. All right. Hello. Welcome back to Back and Forth TV, where we believe it's never too late. It's your girl TK, and I'm so happy to be back in the studio. So as some of you know, some of you may not know, we did have to shut down due to coronavirus, unfortunately. So we had to take a 3-week hiatus, but we're back, and I'm so excited to be back here in the studio one more time with you guys. I have a very exciting topic today, and I also have a very exciting guest, and I'm excited to share that with you guys, and we'll get back to that here shortly. A couple housekeeping items, okay? Make sure that you guys are following the podcast on all social media platforms, okay? The handle is Back and Forth TV. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and also make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, okay? Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that way you know when we're going to be dropping new content, okay? Because we always post the video after we do the podcast and things like that. So make sure that you do that. Also, make sure that you sign up for Patreon. What are you doing if you're not signed up? Okay. If you sign up for Patreon, you get early access to all the content. You get to get discounts on merchandise. There's certain events that we're going to be doing specifically for Patreon members. So don't miss out. Come and be a part of our media family by signing up for Patreon. Go to patreon.com/BFTV. Okay. It's patreon.com/B as in boy, F as in Frank, TV is where you want to go to sign up for that. You can literally subscribe to it for as low as $3 a month. Okay. That's like nothing, y'all. Nothing. Okay. You go and spend that on a McChicken at McDonald's. Okay, so you can certainly go to Patreon and subscribe. Again, none of that money gets pocketed at all. It just goes to support the podcast. It's not free to produce, in the studio that we use. And so all the money goes there. So make sure that you subscribe and support the show. Also, shout out to Level 4 Studio, who produces my podcast in this beautiful facility. If you need photography, or if you are a photographer and you need space to shoot, they definitely are the place for you. And even if you want to start your own podcast, Level 4 is the place to go. So make sure you look up Level 4 Studio on social media to get all of your creative needs met. Okay. Now, also for Patreon members, the show shoots live on Wednesdays between 6 and 7 p.m. Mountain Time. For all of you that are part of our extended family, the show will be available on all major platforms. So Google, Spotify, Anchor, whatever it is that you use, it'll be available on Friday. And the YouTube video will also be uploaded on Friday as well at some point during the day. So make sure you guys pay attention to that. All right. So that's it for the housekeeping items. Now, today's topic is standing up in the midst of adversity. And I have an amazing guest, which I'm so excited. She actually flew all the way out here, guys, from Atlanta just to be on my show today. Isn't that crazy? And so I'm excited. Her name is Miss Khalia
Khalia Ervin. Khalia.
What?
Everyone does it all the time.
Now, I've been talking to you on the phone forever, and I've been calling you Khalia, and you never said anything. I'm so mad. Okay. So Khalia.
Yes.
Khalia Ervin, y'all. I just be messing up these names. This is terrible.
I do the same.
So I just want to read a little bit about her before we get started. So Khalia Ervin, who is originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, lived in Los Angeles and currently resides in Atlanta, Georgia. She obtained her Bachelor of Arts in Social Welfare and Social Justice with a minor in African Studies from California State University, Northridge. Khalia eventually went into the field as a behavioral specialist working with the youth from ages 5 to 18 who were either on probation or part of foster care. She enjoys connecting with the youth and providing inspiration for them. Khalia is also the founder and owner of Sankofa Athletics, which is an athleisure apparel brand that is African-inspired, consciously forward, and promotes unity, and also the sponsor of our show. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second here. Khalia's motto is purpose plus passion equals the mission. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get started, I always like to jump into a few icebreakers.
Okay.
You know, just so people can get to know you and things like that. So first question, what is the worst idea that you've ever had?
Good question. The worst idea I've ever had.
I'll start.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I don't know, I was always trying to come up with ways to make money. Like that was just my thing. And so basically I created a bank for my siblings to invest their money so I can go spend their money.
Oh my.
Yeah, that was the worst idea ever. Well, at least to them it was. To me at the time it was a great idea. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
So I would say the worst idea childhood, I used to make booby traps.
Booby traps?
Yeah, I used to, I'd be creative and just do things like that. I decided to do it at school. Mm-hmm. Booby trap went wrong. Teachers was upset. I ended up getting suspended. But
poor teacher.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I can only imagine. All right. So next question. We got one more. Okay.
Okay.
What is the most spontaneous thing you have ever done?
Most spontaneous thing I've ever done. A lot. Let's see. I would say when I went to Jamaica. I went to Jamaica with my former partner, Bree. And, of course, we were just meeting the locals. Mm-hmm. And he was like, do you want to go to the ganja farm? And I was like,
what is that?
The ganja farm, where they grow marijuana.
Oh, okay.
And so
girl,
I
don't be knowing.
me being me, and the adventurous person I am, I said, yeah, let's go. Of course, not knowing we're in a foreign area, like, you know what I mean? My partner at the time was like, are you sure you want to do this? Because we don't know, And we went, and we were going through the mountains, and it was just far away from the resort. Luckily, it was an amazing experience.
Really?
Amazing.
Wow.
Like, to be able to experience the real Jamaica. Mm-hmm. And we were
outside
in
of the resort, right?
Outside of the resort, outside of the tourist attractions, we were able to see Jamaica. We were in the ganja. I mean, it's just marijuana just everywhere, and you can literally just pinch it and just smell it. Like, it was just that experience. I mean, of course, they have machetes. So the whole experience.
Oh, so you got the full effect.
I
would have been scared.
We had to hike up to get to the ganja farm. So I would say that was the most spontaneous thing that I've ever done, because of course that was dangerous. Mm-hmm. Being in Jamaica.
Yeah, people tell you to stay away from, stay on the resort. That's where I would be at the resort.
But for that experience, that was very spontaneous, and it was an amazing experience, and I'm still here.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. Yeah, mine is nothing compared to yours.
I gotta show you photos.
Because for me, I'm not like, I'm a Taurus. I'm not very like adventurous unless I'm with someone who makes me do adventurous things, and I'll do it. But I happen to be with an adventurous person, and so we actually went ziplining across the Royal Gorge.
Ooh.
Yeah,
No, you didn't like that?
No, I didn't like it. I'm like, Lord, if this rope snap, child, it is over. I'm just gonna say my prayers. I was so petrified. I can't really say it was liberating because I was just scared. But that's probably the most adventurous thing that I've done.
That's fun though.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but awesome. So let's get into this ad. So you guys know Khalia is here with me. She is the sponsor of our show, you guys. And look at what we're wearing. She designed this. Isn't this amazing? So just a little bit about the company. So Sankofa Athletics Apparel is an athleisure wear and accessories company that provides thoughtfully designed, high quality pieces that are uniquely and sustainably sourced. Every piece is designed in the US and it comes directly from their factory in the Middle East to ensure that each handcrafted piece is made from only the best textiles, fabric, and raw materials available. And I will say, like, the stuff that I'm wearing, this is like some really high quality fabric, okay? Ain't no polyester on here. Rayon wear, okay? Wear. Ain't no polyester on here. So you are definitely gonna get your money's worth. This is definitely some high quality pieces here. And she recently actually just came out with some other stuff. I ordered this, and then I looked on the on social media, and I saw the new stuff, and I was like, I should have got that stuff. What was I thinking? I should have just waited. So some really, really cool designs. And, you know, as you can see, it also has African print. And even in the hoodie, it has all these really cool designs, guys. I'm going to have some pictures up later so you all can see it. But really, really cool athleisure wear. And the cool thing I like about this is that I can wear it and go work out, you know, or I can wear it out and dress it up. I can put a pair of heels on with this if I wanted to, or wear it with a pair of jeans. You can literally dress this up. As you can see, Khalia, she got her fancy shoes on. Hold up the shoe for the people.
Oh, can they see for the people?
Look at this,
for the people. LFLS shoes.
And you can pair it with that, and it looks so fashionable. Okay, so y'all better get on the Sankofa Athletics. I'm telling you. It's a socially, environmentally conscious clothing brand that strives to be all-inclusive for all genders, okay? Now, don't go to Sankofa empty-handed, okay? Make sure that you use our promo code. So you're going to go to Sankofa, that's Sankofa, athletics.com, and you're going to use promo code BFTV. B as in boy, F as in Frank, TV 15. Okay, so SankofaAthletics.com and use promo code BFTV15. Okay, make sure y'all better get in on this. I'm telling you, this is really nice, and it's truly worth the money. Like, this is, I just feel fancy sitting in it.
Hey.
I mean, I'm gonna go to the gym, but I'm gonna look cute in this. I'm not trying to get all sweaty in this. But make sure you guys go check that out. Please take advantage of it. So today's topic, as I mentioned before, is standing up in the midst of adversity. And Khalia, you have such an amazing story, which is why I was so excited to have you come to the show. Honestly, I was touched by your story. Beautiful. You've overcome things that I can't even imagine having to go through. And the sad thing is a lot of people probably go through similar things. And, you know, sometimes just children, when we think of them, we see them, but we don't really understand like what is actually happening at home or what goes on. So, you know, I'm just glad that you were brave enough to come out here and share your story today. Thank you so much. So right now you are a successful entrepreneur and you are a creative, which I think is so amazing. And so some of us could really look at you and think that, you know, oh man, she must have it made. Like, this is so easy. You know, but I know that you've had a difficult journey. So tell us a little bit about, you know, your childhood.
Okay. Well, first, I want to say thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I appreciate
I wouldn't
that.
have told you no.
I got to give thanks and just for having this platform for people like myself to be on here. So thank you.
Absolutely.
So about my childhood, I say I was in Ohio from, of course, born to the age of 9 with my father. And I was a daddy's girl. And from what I can remember, from what my family say, I was a good kid overall. Very adventurous. Of course, I love to play with my boy cousins. I was always with the boys and wanted to be with the boys and wanted to do everything with the boys.
Right.
Due to my father's choice of occupation, it caused for me to bounce around from family to, family to, so it was no stability.
Right.
And then at the age of 9, I was shipped off to California to be with my mother, who I didn't really know at the time. And so being in California, that was tough. And then that's when I ended up in the system at the age around 14, 15.
Oh, okay. So that's different. That's something that you don't hear every day, where you started out majority of your time with your father. Can you tell us a little bit more about, like, what was your dad's actual, like, occupation, and kind of what caused you to have to go stay with your mother?
Well, he was into selling drugs, things like that. So, of course, in and out of prison, going through that. And so then me being with him, he's like, well, I have to send you to this family member or this family member. And then it kind of got, like, I guess, tiring for them or something. So then I had to come out to California.
Got
be
you.
with my mother.
Okay, so you just needed some more stability, basically.
Right.
Right. So now you're in California at the age of 14?
Right, 14. No, around 9.
Around 9 is when you went to your mother.
9, yeah. From 9 to about 14 and a half, I was with my mother.
Okay. So you didn't have a lot of stability before, but to be uprooted from your hometown to go all the way to California. Now, California is a whole different situation.
Let me tell you something. Coming from Ohio, it was a whole different situation. I'm just used to, Black people, white people, certain type of,
right.
morals and, just certain type of things. Then going to California was an eye-opener. It was just like, I didn't know what an Armenian person was. I didn't know who a Latino person was. It just kind of blew my mind that, oh, wow, there's all this diversity.
Right.
Out here, there's more than just what I was used to.
Yeah.
So that was an experience.
Yeah, I bet
itself.
that was a bit of a culture shock too for
Absolutely.
you. So now you're essentially living with a stranger. So tell me about how, the time that you met your mom and what that experience was like.
It was hard. It was hard. We did clash a lot. Hence why I ended up in the system at 14 and a half. It was just hard. It was very hard.
When in particular that you feel like was difficult about that? Was she just not prepared to, like, be an actual mother?
Well, she had my younger brother, so I have siblings. And my younger brother was the one that she kept. And so I'm honestly, to this day, I'm not sure. I never got that closure. So I think maybe it had to do something with my father, and maybe her being upset with him could be, taking it out on me because I am my father's child. Those type of traumas that parents don't talk about, or that they also go through, because we got to understand that our parents also have traumas.
Yes, they do.
And so they can sometimes take that out on their children. So that's what I think. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know, because a lot of mothers, they usually don't leave their children with the father. Do you know, like, maybe why? No? No? Oh, man.
I think maybe because my father wanted to keep me.
That's a lot to swallow at 9-year-old.
It is.
To just be uprooted from, even though your situation was dysfunctional, but that was how you functioned, so now you're being uprooted to now this stranger. It's not really a stranger, but you don't really know her that well. And you also don't understand why she hasn't been there the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, oh man, that has to be tough.
And then why I'm being treated the way that I was being treated, because I felt like the black sheep. So it was that. Not saying like she handled her business. She was a single mother. She did what she had to do. She worked. That there was stability there compared to like my father. You know what I mean? Of course that was that stability, and we had a roof over our head, food on our back, food in our mouth, clothes on our back. She made sure that she took care of all the things that, as far as like, necessities and things that we need. But when it came to emotional and just being there emotionally, I would say for me, it just wasn't there.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. So I can imagine being 9 years old, like what are the emotions that you're experiencing at this time?
I do remember I was upset. I was crying that, one, I was being shipped off to LA, and then just being there, it was very emotional and sad, honestly.
I can only imagine. And then to come in and then not be accepted, I
Yes.
was like, oh my gosh, like you are killing me here. Like, can you just be nicer to me?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So now fast forward 5 years later and we're in foster care. How did we get there?
We get there because I ran away. I would run away from home. And of course she would call, the police, a runaway kid. And it just got to the point where my mother was just done with it. She was over it. And so that's when she just decided to give up her rights as my parent. And then I ended up in juvenile hall. Then juvenile hall landed me into placement, which is a group home. And that's where from 14 and a half to about 20, I want to say about 24, I was in the system.
Oh, wow. Wow. So when you would run away, like, why did you run away and where would you go?
I would run away to friends' houses that I met at school. And I would run away because I was unhappy. I was just unhappy where I was at.
The sad thing is a lot of children go through that where just things are not good at home and they just, they end up running away and they kind of end up in a similar situation. What advice would you give them? Because I know that you work with a lot of youth and
Yeah.
you still do, to this day. What would you share?
If I could talk to my younger self at the time, which I don't regret anything, to actually reach out. I was a very closed off person. And so I would tell them, talk to someone that you are close with and let them know of the situation that's going on at home and see what can be done and reach, because there's resources out there. Of course, as children, we don't know that, but there are resources out there that can help you, get through whatever it is that you're going through, even if it's just having family therapy. I mean, sometimes actually that's needed. So, even going through something like that to where you're going through family therapy to talk about these issues at home, to try to work through them so it doesn't resort to being sent off to foster care or, just children acting out and then ending up in, the hands of the police, and then now they're going through that whole system. So, just something like that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that's good advice just because I think sometimes people think that teenagers are adults. They're just because they're a little bit older that they know how to handle certain situations. And that's not always the case. Like their brains are still developing and, you're very vulnerable at that age and you're very easily, influenced at that age as well. And they're not adults, and so we have to make sure that we keep that in mind, as we approach, teenagers. They're very impressionable. So, I have some really young listeners here, on the podcast. If you're going through something similar, find someone that you trust, just like Khalia was saying. Very important because you don't have to go through this by yourselves. And sometimes, we do have to extend our parents some grace because they do go through traumatic situations, especially in our community.
Absolutely.
Where, therapy is like, for
Shunned.
the longest, it was shunned, and now it's being more accepted now. But before that, people either one didn't have access to therapy or it was frowned upon. So, do what you need to do to get yourself some help. Talk to someone you trust or find someone you trust, whether that's at your school, your church, wherever,
Family,
family, absolutely. So one thing I do know, and this is pretty much everywhere, but I do know in our community here in Colorado, there's a lot of homeless youth here. They're just like on the streets sometimes. And so I know you mentioned to me that you were homeless a couple times. How did that happen? How did we become, so we're in the foster care system and now we have no house? What happened?
Right. So, of course, because I was on probation at the
And
time,
that's from juvie, right?
right? So
Okay.
when I was in a group home, which was GLASS. It was Gay, Lesbian, Adolescent Social Services. And so at the time when you turn 18 and you're a part of the probation system, you're emancipated immediately. They don't give you the resources that you would get with foster care. So the extended, transitional living, and then, from 18 to 21, and then 20, that
So
wasn't
once you turn
available.
18, that's cut
They
off.
kick you out.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so that was my situation. And so what was done, they suggested, okay, go back to your mother. I fought hard to say, I don't think that's the best idea because I know the circumstances. But they still sent me back because at the time that was the law. That's just what it was. And so I went back home, and of course ended up homeless. And it was just an off and on thing, just trying to figure out from 18 to about 24, just trying to figure things
before
out.
that though, was your, because I know you mentioned that both of your parents had passed away.
Yes.
Was this before that?
No. So at the time, both of my parents were still alive and
Okay.
well. This was in 2005. So it was just an off and on thing, just trying to figure out, how to navigate being freshly 18, not really having those life skills needed to understand how to work things. And then, of course, being kicked out. And then at the time, I was able to get into transitional housing. And that helped me get off the streets at the time. And then from there, it was just an off and on thing. It was just still just trying to just figure things out again, just not having that support system and trying to, just being in the system is really hard. And that was the situation. But the biggest part was when I became homeless when I was, how old was I? I was about 20. I want to say I was about 21-ish, 21, 22 around that time. I was putting myself through school. So I was going through community college. And again, I going to my mom's trying to see if she'll let me stay. That was a no-go. So I was literally just living out of my car. And you would never know because I get it from my dad. I'm prideful. So very prideful. So no one knew, no one, I walk in like nothing, of course I'm fresh. I'm just, but you would never know that I was living out of my car, but I held a full-time job.
Wow.
I was going to school full time. So, just showering at the YMCA, showering at the school when during the semester when things were open. Of course, summer they shut it down, things like that. So you don't have access to the school. But when I did have access to the school, I would shower at the school, shower at the YMCA, finding other resources like that within the community that I could utilize to get myself in a better situation. So yeah, I mean, Taco Bell was one place that I, shower, brush my teeth, stuff like that. So no one would ever know though.
Wow. That is a lot, girl. That's especially in California.
It's expensive.
It's so expensive. And sometimes being homeless out there, at least from what I know and what people have told me, it can be dangerous as well. And so, listen, y'all, there's no excuse, okay? If she can work a full-time job and make it through homelessness and still go to school, you can do anything, okay? Especially if you're not under the same circumstances. So the dynamic with your mom.
Yeah.
Why? Just why?
I
No? Especially,
what I
after you're older, you think that, in time passes that, you can move on, you can heal eventually. And I'm sure that's what you wanted.
yeah, and I forgave my mom for everything. Um, I think that when she was on her way to transition, I kind of got the feel that it was I think it was just that she was just whatever happened between my father and her kind of took it out on me. That's really
Yeah, so she
just
must have been pretty bitter.
the that's what.
That's unfortunate.
And
So,
I don't know the whole story.
yeah,
So
that's true. So why not just go home back to Ohio? Was your dad still incarcerated at the time?
no, at the time my father, no, he was still alive. He was out. He was, he was but Ohio just, I've been in California for so long. So California felt more like, not, I wouldn't say home, but it just felt more comfortable.
Right.
And then of course a lot of resources, a lot of opportunities. So it was, I was like, I'll just stay in Cali, even though majority of my family's in Ohio. But I just stayed in California.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. That is a lot to take in. So before we, jump forward to some of the success that you've had, going through foster care, I know can be a very tumultuous situation at times. I have an adopted brother who is a product of the foster care system and things like that. What were some of the struggles and things that you dealt with during that time?
A lot.
Please share.
So so of course dealing with sexuality and accepting that. So luckily this was the only, at the time, this was the only group home that accepted gay, lesbian, and adolescents. It literally was called Gay, Lesbian, Adolescent Social Services.
Wait a minute.
This because at the time, other group homes had the right to basically discriminate against anyone who identified as LGBT.
That was a thing?
Yes, it was at the time that I was in.
So
now
they can
it's
tell a
changed. child, yeah, because
you identify as
that
this way, you cannot stay in our
right. They will not
facility.
accept you. They will. So what happens is they interview you, and of course they have a series of questions, and of course you being honest to answering these questions, then you can disqualify yourself, because if you decide to open up and say, hey, yeah, I identify as this, then they'll be like, okay, well,
Wow.
we're not going to accept you. But Glass was one that did, because it was strictly created for people who identified as LGBT. And so that was an experience in itself, because it allowed me to finally tap into who I am and just be more open and just free as far as my sexuality goes. So that was a very interesting experience. Being from, coming from a family where back in Ohio, where it was very family oriented, and then being in a space where, it's just a bunch of strangers. And of course we all identify as similar, but it's just, we're all kids, and, we're just trying to figure our own life out, figure ourselves
Right.
out. And, of course there was some things going on that shouldn't have been going on there, which is what happens in the system. And it was interesting. I learned a lot. I learned a lot.
What were some of the other things that were happening?
Of course, you have my first time ever being introduced to drugs was in the group home.
Wow.
And these are supposed to be people who are supposed to be your guardians, who watch over you. So it was very interesting, and just,
So how did you stay on the straight and narrow through all of this? Because I can imagine if you're getting introduced to some of that, it's
I fell into some of it. A lot of it had to do with, luckily, I did have staff who believed in me and tried their best to keep me on the right path. When they start to see me go down a path that wasn't necessarily good. And so, redirect real quick. It's just like, when I was going this way, oh no, okay, you need to go get a job. Like, so I was working, Candy, who was the program director, she saw me going this way and she said, okay, you know what? You need to go ahead and get a job. So then I went into the Archdiocese program and I was able to start working at the age of 15, 16. Workers permit. So after, school, and then of course I love basketball. So she's like, you need to go ahead and just join the basketball team just to keep me out of,
That's so
the
good.
drama, because she was more like that motherly figure for, the home. So, doing stuff like that. So having people in my corner like that helped keep me more, on the right path. And I have to thank, Colleen and Candy and Michelle and all them who, made sure that I was sticking to the right path.
Yeah, that's really good because foster kids get exposed to so many things.
Absolutely.
I mean, drugs, abuse,
Sex.
just a lot.
Yes.
And it's so sad, and people do the best they can to help, but you just can't always protect everyone.
Not it, yeah.
So, I'm just glad to hear your story that you made it through and that you're successful. You're not a product of that environment. That is amazing. Absolutely. What I'm hearing a lot of in your story is just rejection, rejection, rejection. You're getting rejected from your family in Ohio. You come here to your mother, who's a stranger to you, but she's rejecting you right away, for whatever reason. And then you get into the foster care system and you're getting interviewed and you can't stay in certain homes because of how you identify. And even as a teenager, I mean, you're still figuring things out. So tell me a little bit about how you dealt with rejection. And when did you realize you were getting rejected so much, or did you?
So I would say that, my family in Ohio didn't really reject me. But through life, I've dealt with rejection because of whatever, my identity, or because I'm Black, or because many different things. And so I would say, which a lot of my friends say, you are a resilient.
Yes, you are.
It's just resilience. It's just this fire in me that regardless of what anyone says I can't do, or they close the door in my face, I'm going to find another way to get around it, or to just, get it done. It's just, and I've been like that since I was younger. And just to go back, the homeless situation, I remember telling my father, I never want to be homeless. I never want to be homeless. Like, that was a fear of mine. And then to go through it, though it was a hard pill to swallow, it was also a moment for me to realize that I felt that was, the universe, or who people call God, was testing me, because it was a fear. Homelessness was was a fear of mine as a child. And so to actually go through it and get through it, I was like, what is there to fear? What is there to...
Right.
Like, I got through it. Like, if I could get through something that I feared so much, which was being homeless, then now I feel like there's nothing that I can't do. Regardless if someone says no, I'm going to find... you can reject me all you want, but you're going to wish you didn't. That's how I feel.
And some people underestimate that. Like, you could easily be in that situation in a drop of a hat. You know what I'm saying? It could easily be any one of us. And I can imagine... Well, no, I can't. Just worrying about, okay, am I going to be able to eat? Where am I going to stay? Is it the weather? Especially here, we have a homeless community, and if it snows, you can't just be out here, you know what I'm saying? So there's just so many different things, that can make you fearful. And so I really applaud you for keeping going, girl.
Thank you.
It's just, that's a lot to deal with, but you know what? I think this should be inspiration for everybody. It's never too late to fix the situation.
Never.
And that's the theme of the show. It's never too late. And you know what? You can always come up from anything, even at your lowest of lows, So before we get into your success a little bit more, I just kind of want to talk about how you actually identify. And I'm actually going to read this verbatim.
Okay.
And please forgive me, everyone. I'm not as educated on, LGBTQ, all that stuff, as much as others are. So this is actually a learning experience for me. I'm actually excited because this is my first time really diving into this and understanding more about it. So you identify as trans, non-binary, and polyamory. For the audience and myself, can you educate us a little bit on what that means?
Okay. Well, what I'll say is what it means to me.
Okay.
Because everyone else has their own definition. So for me, trans-binary means basically I'm two-spirited, which is something that's ancient from the Native Americans. So basically, I identify with the masculine and feminine energy equally.
Okay.
And as far as polyamory goes, I'm someone I don't practice monogamy. I'm open to multiple partners at one time. So.
Okay. So I'm like, that's like a fourfold situation. Yeah. So you don't identify as male or female. And then also you don't really do monogamous relationships.
Right.
That's a huge discovery. How did you even come to this revelation? Because people, it takes them years to figure out.
Levels to it. It's levels to it.
Share.
So when I came, my first time coming out, was to my mom, of course. I came out because I was afraid I come from a Christian family. So I came out as bisexual just to try to ease it, and came out as bisexual. Then of course, when I went to the group home, I was able to really figure out more about who I was. And then I started to identify as lesbian. And then from that, I was still struggling with identity. Okay, I don't really identify as lesbian. I don't feel like I can choose between masculinity or femininity. It was just dealing with that. And then really until 2017 was when I actually was like, you know what? This is me. I'm trans. I'm a two-spirited person. And it's okay to be that. And then as far as my sexuality goes, that was a journey as well. Being considered bisexual then lesbian, and then really trying to understand. It's more of when you're learning more about sexuality and the spectrum of it. Then I was like, well, I don't really fall in this category. I was just doing that because that was what I was told, or what you know what I mean. That's what I was told. But no, in all reality, my sexuality, I'm pansexual. So I don't fall in between gay or straight or lesbian and straight. That's not. I'm the spectrum. I'm here. I'm over here,
right.
And it's okay. And then as far as the monogamy goes, I was really really big on that growing up. I was like, you're supposed to be one person and one person only, and you get married to one person, and it was the Christian teaching and things like that. So as I started to just learn more about myself and just learn more about these things these things exist. Polyamory has existed for a very long time. Polygamy, all those things. These have been in existence. It's just that we don't talk about those things. It's a taboo. And so when I started to do more research on it and realized this is how I feel, this aligns more with my spirit than being monogamous, or identifying as pansexual is more with my spirit than identifying as either lesbian or bisexual or whatever, or just all of that. So it was a journey. It was just in just learning more about it, and then meeting other people who actually practice it, and learning from them and their experiences, and then having my own experiences. It just what I do what feels right with my spirit, and that's just just who I am. And I go against all norms. Who I am, the essence of me and my spirit goes against all norms.
Yeah.
That,
So I want to dig a little deeper into this, just a little bit. Just pick your brain. So, most of my audience that knows me hosting the show, I'm definitely Christian. That's how I grew up, and that's how, however, my name is Takara. My name is not God. I have no heaven or hell to put anybody. And God gives
I
people free will
love
to
that.
do whatever they want to do. And that's, where I stand on everything. And so, I just know that if I had a family member, or one of my siblings, I want them or whoever to be treated with love and respect and kindness, regardless of how they identify or how they feel. Just with you, growing up Christian, you mentioned and you went through a lot of different Christian teachings, things like that. How did this, I'm sure this must have been a conflict for you.
Yes, absolutely.
How did you, tell me about that and how you felt?
It was a conflict for me for a very long time. Just to go back, I knew that I was different at the age of 5. I knew that I was
Wow.
gay or whatever.
And
you
I've
wanna
heard
call
that
it.
before, that people be knowing like from a
At a young
very,
age.
very young age that they don't feel
Like
as how
everyone else.
society identifies them. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at that age, I knew, and then the conflict was, of course, being 5 and then growing up in a Christian family, and the teachings that I'm receiving from, the Christian religion went against the essence of me. Like I'm just like, well, I'm considered to be, or what they would say, oh, it's blasphemous or like abomination. I've been told that from family that my lifestyle is an abomination, and just the conflict of all of that. And then even growing up and becoming an adult, it was still a conflict. It's still working on accepting who I am. But how can I accept who I am practicing this religion that tells me that I'm wrong or that I'm sinning or that, just the essence of me and my being is just wrong. So it wasn't until I would say became conscious and I prayed about it. I prayed about it, and the awakening happened. And then I started to move towards exploring other religious teachings, which still I didn't really agree with, didn't fit with my spirit. But it wasn't until I was introduced to African spirituality is when that shift happened. And the teachings that I get from that, and that's when I was like, okay, this aligns more with what it is that I spiritually can connect with, and I'm not being told that who I am or the essence of who I am is negative.
Yeah. One thing I find interesting is, for whatever reason, like, this is taboo, and it's like the one thing that Christians like tack onto for whatever reason, but they forget the other sins. Like, they identify as this,
yeah.
but I was lying and adulterating the other day,
Girl.
but that ain't nothing compared to this. And it's just like, you could still be judged for all of these things. It's like, y'all need to mind your business and drink water, okay? Mind the business that pays you.
Yeah.
But really, I want Christians to know, like, listen, the Bible says, with love and kindness have I drawn thee. You can't really call yourself a Christian, and loving Christ and all these things,
Right.
and you treat people, like they don't belong. Like, that's
Right.
not what he would want. I truly believe that
I
in my
agree with
heart.
you.
I'm never going to treat anybody different because of the way they look or how they identify. And I think that's what we need to understand. But I'm pretty sure that there's so many other people that have a similar story, and they struggle with their religion and things like that. What advice would you give them?
Again, I always go with what aligns with spirit. So if Christianity aligns with your spirit, then it aligns. If not, you can venture off and do more research on other religious practices that may align with you more. That would be the advice that I would give. Do what aligns with your spirit, because what fits for your spirit is for you, and what fits for me is for me. And I think that's the beauty of all things. And for us to be able to sit down here and have a conversation and talk about our different experiences is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
So I feel that people, we all have our own reason for being here. And it's okay to explore it. And I think that people get too caught up with, putting themselves in a box, therefore they try to put other people in that same box, and if you don't fit in that box, then they want to judge you, or they want to
Right.
make it seem like you're living a life that's not, or that's sinful. But I don't think that's how it should be. So I would just tell people, just do what aligns with your spirit, because at the end of the day, you have to do what makes you happy.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. You got to do what makes you happy, you know? Um, Thank you for sharing. I know that was probably a lot to share.
No, it's okay.
So all right.
It's a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So you come from being uprooted from a dysfunctional situation into a new dysfunctional situation. We go from that to foster care. We go from foster care to homelessness and just a plethora of things in between. And now we finally get to the day that you walk across that stage and you accept your diploma.
Yeah.
You know, and that just kind of touched my heart because it's like you've been through so much, and there's so many people who quit, who give up, and they just accept life for whatever it is. You know, they never go after their dreams truly. You know, if they're homeless, they choose to stay that way sometimes because that's what's easier to do is just give up. What was that like for you, especially being the first person in your family to graduate from college?
It was a mix of emotions because when I walked across the stage,
I would have cried across that stage.
I was crying. I was crying of tears of joy and then sadness because, again, you know, at the time when I did walk and got my bachelor's degree, both my parents had already transitioned. So they weren't able to be there physically to celebrate. So it was just a joyous moment. At the same time, it was sad, but
bittersweet.
Yeah. But it was something that I felt very proud of because I put in a lot of work to get that done. I mean,
and you put yourself through school.
Yeah, yeah. I was working, you know, still working. I was working a full-time job when I was going to CSUN. I was working a full-time job on top of a part-time job, on top of going to school full-time, on top of doing my internships. There was no time in the day. It got to the point where my former partner, Bree, was like, look, you going to kill yourself trying to, she was like, you need to let go one of these jobs. You got to let go of one of them.
Right.
So I let go of the part-time job and kept the full-time job and then, you know, was able to get through. And it got to a point where I eventually had to let go of the full-time. I just couldn't do it because internships required a lot of your time. And so I let it go. And luckily at the time, my partner was able to take on everything else financially while I was able to finish school, which was like the last 2 semesters of school. And I was able to get through it and walk through, and then went into the field that I went to school for, working with youth, which I enjoy and love doing. And yeah, it was a good experience.
Good.
I'm very proud.
Good.
And entrepreneurship, let me tell you, was not on my list.
Yeah, so I was wondering that. So because so you know, in your bio I mentioned that you went into behavioral health or you were working with children, and so you own Sankofa Athletics.
Yes.
Which is a fashion company.
Yes.
That is that's on the opposite side. Like
that's way over there.
That's over there. Yeah, like, over yonder. So yeah, I wanted to ask you, tell me, how did we get from there to there?
From behavioral specialist to or social welfare to that. It was one of those one of those like awakenings. It was just like I was even after graduating from school and getting into the field and working, doing everything that I, you know, set out to do and what I'm passionate about, because I love working with the youth. I still did not feel fulfilled.
Wow.
I was not fully fulfilled. And so I sat on it and I said, what is this void? Like, what is going on? Like, why do I feel this way after I've done all this and I'm doing exactly what it is that I wanted to do? And that's when I realized, okay, I need to be my own boss. I need to take all of that I'm passionate about and put it into something.
So how did you know that you were passionate about creating things?
I felt like I didn't have a creative bone in my body.
That's honestly, how people tell me. I don't feel like I'm a creative. Like, I have ideas, but I'm not like a creative. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like I'm creative at all. But
at the time, I didn't feel. I was like, and fashion was not at the top of the list. It was. It was not it. I was just like, what is going on? It was again, that's why my motto, is it's purpose mixed with vision, passion, or mixed with the vision and purpose equals the mission. Because I had to pray on it. I had to sit on it like, what is this void? What's going on? And that was it. And so at my former partner, Bree, I was like, hey, let's start businesses. This was New Year's Eve, 2018 going into 2019. I said, let's start businesses. Let's start our own businesses. I was like, that was the, I was like, that must be the what's the void? Like, let's start our own businesses. And she looked at me and she was like, for real? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. At that moment, it was just research, how to do it. This just a lot of reading, a lot of workshops that I was going to, a lot of just that footwork. And then I was like, well, you know what? I love working out. I love sports. At the time, I was upset with what Gucci and Prada did with their racist images within their clothing. And then being at the gym, I was like, man, all I see is Nike, Adidas. I'm like, why can't I create something that represents us? Because I was still in the back of my mind, Gucci and Prada got me messed up. I'm
gonna fix this. I'm gonna fix them right on up today.
So I was like, okay, yeah, and then H&M too. They,
Oh yeah, that's right.
That monkey situation.
I sure stopped shopping there. I'm like, dang it, why y'all do that to me? I like shopping.
I like shopping there too. I was like, damn.
Man.
But that right there, and then the visions just started to come, and I'm a spiritual person, and I believe in the a higher power, God, whatever you. And that's when more and more like the vision started to come. And so what I do is I follow through it. When God says, or when my intuition says do this, I do it. I don't, no questions. I know that it's coming from the higher source. So that's where a lot of these things come from. And that's why.
I love it because, but literally though, like in comparison to all the other brands that are out there, nobody is doing anything like this. Like this is just beautiful. I mean, I was on my way here getting compliments.
I love it.
About like, oh my God, I love that. Like, people just looking at me like, you know what I'm saying? Like
it's foreign. Like, where do you get that from?
I mean, it's really like, I feel confident in it. I feel good in it. I feel pretty in it.
Yeah.
I feel pride in it because there's African print, So yeah, that is such a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Y'all go after your dreams. Don't let nothing stop you.
Nothing.
Because then, you'll be missing out on your blessings and something amazing can come out of this.
And make sure it's your dream.
Absolutely.
That's one thing that I've learned is that everything that I do is unique. It's unique to me.
Right.
So I just advice for anyone going into whatever industry, just make sure it's your unique passion. You can't, to just do something because you see someone else doing it, but you're really not passionate about it. It's going to show in the work. So it's just best to just do what it is that you were put here to do.
Absolutely.
This is what I was put here to do. This is my lane.
And I love that your line is inclusive of everybody. Yes. So men and women, but not just black men, people. Right. There's white people. Yes. There's different Asian. And then I also, one thing that touched my heart, and I messaged you about it when I saw it on Facebook, or not Facebook, Instagram. The guy with the physical disability.
Sean, shout out to Sean.
And he walked down that runway. Yes, I'm telling y'all, go to Sankofa Athletics on Instagram. And she has a picture of Sean, and he was really working that runway.
Wasn't he?
I was like, oh my God.
He felt like, so sweet. Oh my God. He felt like one of the guys.
I was just that like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I've never seen anybody pull someone like that on the runway.
Had to.
And I think that is so special, to be able to open up and look beyond just what is important to you. It's everybody. It's inclusive. And I really love that, which is why I was even just excited to have you as a sponsor of the show. Like, because I want to be inclusive of everybody, which is why you're here. Like, this is not just for black people. It's for everybody. It's for everyone. God wants us all to be happy, so Thank you for sharing your story. I know
Of
this is a
course.
lot, and
No,
we're
it's
probably
okay.
well past the time, girl. But it is all good. But this was such a beautiful story to
Thank
just
you.
be able to overcome all those things. And I really applaud you for sharing your story because it's not easy
It's not
to come out and share something that's controversial or that goes
personal.
against what the majority out here has to say. And so I applaud your bravery.
I thank you for having me.
Oh, of
You know,
course.
this is my
You can
first.
come back
Look,
anytime. Look, we friends. Okay? We are
okay,
friends.
family. There
all
we
right.
go.
So Kahila, where can people follow you on social media?
On all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, everything. At Sankofa, Sankofa Athletics. Simple.
Yes.
Sankofa
And
Athletics.
it's Sankofa _athletics
Athletics on IG.
Instagram. Yeah.
Everything else is Sankofa Athletics. You can find me.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you guys go sankofaathletics.com, shop the products.
Yes.
They are amazing, y'all.
Yes.
It's worth the money and it's Black owned. Like
Absolutely.
get it together, okay?
Not just Black owned, it's also trans owned,
It's
queer
trans owned.
all that.
It's all that good stuff.
All that.
Go and support it. But honestly, like the clothes are dope. Like if nothing else, just go buy the clothes because they're cool.
And can I add something else to it? Because I don't want to forget about, what we do with the community. So through
Yes,
the
please share.
brand, which is another passion of mine, is figuring out a way to give back. And so when you purchase something from the brand, for example, the hat collection, I donate a portion of the profit to the Messiah Water Project.
Wow.
And what they do is they assist men, women, and children in Tanzania with providing clean water, food, school supplies,
Wow.
sanitary napkins for the women, and even buying goats. That's something that they need. And so through that, I donate. So whenever you buy a hat from Sankofa, you're not just buying, just a hat that represents you, but you're also buying a hat that is giving back to the community.
Wow.
And it's, of course, it's internationally, but then also within Atlanta, Georgia, we are partnered with the Lost and Found Youth. And so through the BU collection, which is my LGBT collection, we donate a portion of the profit to the Lost and Found Youth, who what they do is they assist homeless LGBT youth. And so when you buy a shirt or a cologne or anything through the Nick Ricardo collection, who I'm partnered with, we donate a portion of the profit to that organization to help with whatever they need help with as far as getting, resources for homeless LGBT youth.
Wow.
So the brand it's a passion of mine. And so I'm
So you're
able
not
to-
doing this just to make money. Like this is truly to help other
no.
people.
Yeah, I create collections that is geared towards certain, nonprofits that are doing the work in the community, whether it's domestically or internationally.
That is amazing. So listen, you're not even finna go out here just in style, but then you can give back at the same time.
Yeah.
Why not support this brand? Y'all better get on it. Awesome. So make sure you guys go and follow Sankofa Athletics on social media, on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And on Instagram, again, it's Sankofa _athletics, okay? So make sure you guys follow that so you can keep up. I actually recently just watched parts of the fashion show that Khalia just recently launched, and you guys, it is so dope. Listen, if you need a model, just call me.
I got you.
But it is like the coolest thing to watch, and just to watch someone I know personally doing something this massive is just. It's just amazing. So make sure you guys get on there and follow. Again, we're closing, coming to an end here. Shout out to Level 4 Studio for producing the show for me. And one thing I like about Level 4 is that they don't just leave me in the studio. I'm alone today, but because Kevin is whatever. But anyway, for the most part, they are always here. I don't have to worry about trying to fix equipment and trying to see what works. I am not technology oriented, and I'm not very smart in that field. They just taught me how to turn the volume on my computer off recently, which already lets you know I'm not trying to figure none of that out. They do all that for you. So make sure you guys, if you need anything, that has to do with creative content, make sure you reach out to Level 4 Studio. You don't even have to be in the same state to work with them. So make sure you guys do that. Again, make sure you're following the show, okay, on all social media platforms, especially for those of you that just listen through the streaming platforms. Like, make sure you follow on social media so you understand and know what's coming up and what's going on with the show. We're just getting back in the studio today, so there is going to be some new content that are going to be dropping soon and some cool things coming. So make sure you guys stay tuned. As always, I like to close with a quote. And actually, I have a poem here that I thought would be very befitting of today's conversation. And it says, rising from ashes, surviving from crashes, trying to dwell myself after being knocked in trashes. Chances of falling again is exponentially high, but it is always worth to give another try. I might not be the smartest and I might not be the fastest, but when I'll breathe my last, Lord, I will be the happiest because I am fighting for better. I am failing for better. I am facing the storm. Am not in run for shelter. And that's by Kashav Jetha. I kind of wanted to do isn't it a nice?
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this was like a flowetry. I should have did it like that, like, man. But I thought that would be befitting for today's show. So thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you guys sign up for Patreon. Until I see you next week, remember, it's never too late. And you guys have a blessed one.